Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us in this new edition of your evening time talk show on DMR TV Mountain Echoes. We come your way this time every day, bring to you very topical issues, societal issues, prominent national issues that we put on the table and are able to analyze and give you a critical perspective to the issues. Okay, so tonight is going to be one of such edition of Mountain Echoes. We'll be live from the capital of the Southwest region, that is Buea, in the Southwest regional headquarters in the Southwest region, Cameroon. So my name is Jude Mbako. This evening we are going down memory lane back to 2016 when the Anglophone crisis started in the Northwest and the Southwest region. Before then, what was highly reported from these two parts of the country had to do with developmental issues. But since 2016, 17, 18, 19 to date, when you check any app or you go on your search engine, every search engine, you type anything out concerning this region or Cameroon, what you will notice is that the Anglophone crisis will feature among the first two, if not President Paul Biya. This is because the mainstream media, or what we popularly call traditional media, has paid so much attention to the crisis and have been doing formidable job so far to ensure that they put the world on a spotlight as far as what is happening in this part of the country is concerned. Unfortunately, it has not been so rosy. There have been plenty of thorns on the way on the path of the professionals, and equally external factors they have to battle with in the information industry. They also have quite a huge challenge. In fact, the laws and the policies of the land have not been very easy for the journalists to meander through. So how has the mainstream media in Cameroon been able to navigate the very turning nature of Cameroon politics to ensure that they report the Anglophone crisis in a suitable way that will bring peace, social cohesion, and collective security to these people of the Northwest and the Southwest region? Just recently, members of the Cameroon Association of English-Speaking Journalists, CAMASEJ, an association of about 500 plus members, gathered in Yaoundé to brainstorm on new dynamics and perspectives that they can tell the stories of the people of the Northwest and the Southwest region without bringing harm to them. But then you can also understand that the social media and citizen reporters have not been helping the situation as the mainstream media continues to struggle to keep to professionalism. There are also hurdles that come from every other angle. So tonight we are going to be re-evaluating how this mainstream media, the approach and the impact they have been putting in so far to ensure that the Anglophone crisis is reported very well. So let me introduce members of my panel with whom we are going to be having this discussion this evening. We are going to be chatting and keeping you. But those of you watching at home, we would like to hear from you. I'm sure that my producers are making available the telephone number that you can you see on your screen there, that you can send a text message to us, and we'll be able to answer you live from the studio this evening in any perspective when it comes to the mainstream media in Cameroon. So like I said earlier, we are streaming on Facebook live this program. So let me introduce members of my panel. To the far left, the only lady in the studio this evening is a colleague here in the Southwest Regional Headquarters, Buea, Emanuela C. Emanuela works with My Media Prime Television from the Southwest region of Cameroon. Emanuela, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mbaku. Good evening to everyone listening to us, and everyone watching us this evening. It's a great pleasure for me to be here to talk about things that concerns journalists. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's not easy to have female journalists out. Their security is also at stake. So thank you for making our time to be here. We really appreciate it. I'm going to take you back home now. Andrew Soseka, good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, Mbaku.
Andrew Soseka is the president of the Cameroon Association of English-Speaking Journalists for Buea chapter. There are 8 chapters. He's the president for Buea chapter, the president of journalists in Buea. Andrew, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mbako, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here once more.
Great. And to this other side of the panel, Andrew works too with the Post newspaper, Southwest Regional Bureau. And to this other part of the panel, we have Shing Timothy. Shing Timothy is with the Ghana Post newspaper in the Southwest region. He reports and corresponds from Buea. Shing Timothy, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Mbako, and I'm happy to be able to share the platform with Andrew and Emanuela for the first time. It's a great opportunity for us to share ideas on better practices for journalists so that the public can better understand what the job of journalists as far as reporting crisis is concerned.
Great. Shing, we review your papers here every morning. The Ghana Post newspaper happens to be one of the most prominent, in fact it is the only private English-speaking daily newspaper that publishes from Monday to Sunday. That would mean that you people do not have a resting moment. Congratulations to the marvelous job.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm also very happy that you review us every day.
It is not just in Cameroon, in this sub-Saharan African region. That's the only paper that publishes Monday to Sunday edition of the Ghana Post.
Yes, on the Central African sub-region. And once more, I really appreciate the fact that you review us every day, because also projecting and sharing the work we do is your own way of supporting us. Thank you very much.
Thank you too for coming, Shing Timothy. So like I said tonight, those of you watching back at home, the press, the mainstream media, when we talk about the mainstream media, of course we are talking about radio, television, newspapers, and official websites, not social media, right? So how much have they been doing to either catalyze the crisis or to be able to restore peace? How much have they been able to report balance? To your own appreciation, how has the media in Cameroon been reporting the Anglophone crisis? What appreciation can you make? You can just, wherever you are, if you can join the discussion, fine. So let me begin with the president of the journalists of the Southwest region. Take us back, Andrew Soseka. The Anglophone crisis and the English-speaking media in Cameroon, where do we have a blend? How can you evaluate the works of the journalists in the Anglophone regions? I'm talking about the North and Southwest, vis-a-vis the crisis that made them unprepared.
Yeah, I think, Mbako, the work of journalists has always been to inform the public on daily happenings. But when it comes to the Anglophone crisis, it has been a bit tricky, because as journalists we are trained to report events in a way that we do not put ourselves inside. But now we are in a crisis where we are part of it. We feel the crisis, we come face to face with the risks and everything. The people impacted by the crisis, our family members and things like that. So it puts people in that emotion, that way you have to play that hard, fight that hard battle between your emotions, your professionalism, and a lot of things like that. Before the crisis, like you said, we used to report development issues, a little politics here and there. I think before then the problem was about President Biya being in power for long. That was the only problem.
That was a major issue in the country.
Yeah, that was the major issue. But now we have had to focus mainly on the crisis. It's been now an issue of survival for our people. Survival for Cameroon as a state that is threatened, and all the challenges that come with it. So for journalists, it has not been an easy thing. Reporting about the fighting, reporting about the killings, reporting about the impacts, and every other thing. When at the end of the day you go back and you hear that somebody has been killed, maybe somebody in your village, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's your brother, maybe it's a relative, and things like that, you come with those emotions and then you try again to be professional. So it's been not been an easy job, but I think people are trying, but again there are still a lot of challenges, especially with the legal framework. that is the main challenge to journalists. We, with our press laws, or with the laws surrounding liberty in Cameroon, journalists still face those. Yeah, there are still a lot of things that hinder us from doing our jobs properly. Sometimes we can do, and then probably those in authority, they can sit back and not act. But within the laws that are still in place, they can still act. They can still use that against you. Maybe probably they can decide to not to use that against you in a very strict way now, because international organizations are going to put pressure on them. But you see that the laws in place, especially concerning a crisis, makes it very hard for us to report. When you look at laws that tells you a law that would say, for instance, that somebody, the state has declared a terrorist, you cannot, going by the laws now, you cannot properly report them. Although we are trying to do that, but the anti-terrorism law says that if you relay information from them, you will be tried. You can be tried in a military court. So probably if you interview somebody from there to balance up a story or to tell their own side of the story,
already regarded.
Yeah, it can be interpreted. It can be a terrorism offense. So you see those things that are still there. Even when you are allowed, maybe because of some administrative tolerance, you still have it at the back of your mind that if this thing can still be used against you. So we still have those. I think that's the main thing that we face as journalists, knowing fully well that this, if I do this job properly, maybe I can be held for it. At the end of the day, you start censoring yourself. You start you see yourself trying to play a role that you are not supposed to be playing. Because as journalists, our work is to bring information so that people can debate, people can have a debate, people can have a discussion like we're having now, so that in the long run or in the short run, we should not have people trying to make their point using guns. Because if the media is free, if somebody sits like for instance, the Anglophone crisis, if we have the freedom of expression, the freedom of the media, and you know that instead of fighting, you can express your idea freely, and it can be debated. So that people can say, okay, this your dream of wanting to create a state is nonsense, and somebody convinces you and the general public or the majority of the people through an argument. That is the work of the media, to provide that platform so that we can convince people through arguments, through talk and things like that, so that we don't get to this level where somebody feels like I need to probably call for a 2 weeks lockdown to be heard. I need to shut down schools to be heard. I need to kill somebody. I need to make the death toll high to be heard. The role of the media, reason why we are here, newspapers, televisions and websites, is that somebody can say, this is what I want, and they debate that, and some other person says, no, this idea is probably inferior, this idea is bad because of this, and it will be a talk. It's a civilized thing, because I think the time,
a matter of discussion.
It's a matter of discussion
with intellectuality.
Yes, yes, so that we convince people using arguments and not force. There's no need that if I have to tell something to my brother Shin, I should punch him to make that point. If I say this, and he says no, and he talks back, I listen, I will get what he's saying, and he will get what I'm saying, and at the end of the day, we get a compromise.
All right, Shin, how easy, Andre is just putting it there straight that, before now we used to Anglophone journalists used to report crises of other areas. Used to report the crisis
Boko
Haram up north in Chad, the Seleka rebels in the east, the Central Africa crisis, even in Nigeria.
Yeah, things that we are so distant from.
Yeah. This is your own crisis, touching on you. You report and then you call back home. You hear that your village is razed down by belligerents of the crisis. It's a difficult. How easy or hard is it for reporters on the field to report their own crisis?
Well, I think it's very difficult. This crisis was unique in that most of the actors, most journalists knew most of the actors. Even at the beginning of the crisis, journalists were victims, because we think of Atiat Hilarious and Amos Fofong. Those are some of the journalists who were arrested just at the onset of the crisis. And throughout the crisis, journalists have been kidnapped. Even Wazizi was killed. There are journalists who have been threatened. So reporting the crisis has not been really easy, especially in Cameroon, where we have a very repressive system because the laws are very difficult, especially the media laws. So reporting on the crisis generally has been very difficult, and it even continues to be very difficult. Also at the beginning, with that lack of knowledge and the experience in reporting crisis where we're directly involved, because at the beginning of the crisis, the conflicts we were reporting were if you think of people in the Northwest, they were inter-tribal conflicts. There are this kind of other conflicts, political issues, social issues, economic issues, the daily challenges of Cameroonians, economy, hardship, all those things. But this one was different in that when it started bloodshed, it was different when people's houses were burnt, because these are people you see every day, you encounter them. There are even journalists whose compounds are even also destroyed and you have to report. You know your brother today was killed, or somebody you know was killed, somebody you know was harassed, arrested. So all of those issues, because journalists have to live these things every day, and they have professional obligations to still inform the public and trying as much as possible not to inflame. And the truth is that when this crisis started, then I was in the university, my final year, and we're having very interesting programs on radio every day where we're asking people, how do you think this crisis can be resolved? And then it was just the kind of excitement that, yes, because people were just so emotional. Everybody was trying to feel like, yes, let me talk about this thing, because throughout history, because even before the crisis, we're seeing media reports always about the marginalization of Anglophones. And with all that knowledge from what we have read in history, what we're reading in the media and following them, we knew that, wow, yes, that this is a just cause that everybody should support. So initially, journalists had jumped into the train, and you could see the reports. If you see whether print, radio, or TV, and then the reports were in such a way that I can even say they were inflaming the conflict there. But progressively, journalists grew into this crisis, because a crisis that is almost a decade old. At least people become more professional reporting it, because people are already used to it. Because bloodshed now, you know that, because you could be passing along the street and you see somebody has been shot and the body is lying there. So these are things that people have become used to, almost immune in a very bad way. But that is what has happened. But if you see, just since after the major national dialogue, you see that there have been a lot of progress made by journalists in their reporting, ensuring to promote peace, to build peace, that ensuring that their reports will show a better side, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, trying to bring back hope to the people. And you see that there are some communities that were devastated, that people are trying to go back, especially given the fact that in the Southwest region, the price of cocoa generally is higher, and most of those people who left those areas they think that going back there is better. But reporting in this region, given the laws that we have in place, and always this traditional suspicion from authorities, they don't want to give people information, and they think that the private media is the enemy of the state. That is a challenge that you face every day reporting this crisis. But generally, the performance of journalists, if I were to rate, given the knowledge they had at the beginning of the crisis and how they have learned and improved through as the crisis progresses, I think they score very high. Most yes, especially with the print media, they will score very 90%. Yes, because you see a lot of improvement, and progressively with the media, I think the challenge has been social media, because you know in other conflicts we didn't have social media. So this is a crisis that was inflamed by social media, because the social media warriors, there are people who are firing guns through the social media, who are they calling shots, who order for people to be kidnapped, people to be killed, and they put all the information there. And the public, there is this lack of trust, because you know when people are killed here, obviously somebody who is not trained will just film the images with the dead bodies and put up on social media. You know, it's just recently that Facebook is blurred, that they blur the images of dead bodies. Yes. So, but with the traditional media, you the journalist, you cannot just publish everything. So you have to censor information, and when you are trying to censor information, you are trying to professionally treat information. at times the public thinks that the government has paid you, that no, you are trying to sugarcoat the information, to hide the facts. But when in fact you, the journalist, you are just trying to be professional to treat information. And the public should just know that social media, those people, they are citizen reporters, they are not professionals. Journalists are professionals. These are people who have been trained. It takes 3 years, 4 years in some institutions for people to train to come out and do these reports. So there are people in their own right who are professionally trained, and they know how to process this information in a way that is not going to cause conflict. Because if you imagine you and I, Mbako, the kind of information we know on a lot of issues. Yeah. Imagine if we were to publish all of the information everywhere we go, that every information you have, you publish it. I think there will be chaos. So today, to the very large extent, journalists have been very successful in reporting the crisis and mitigating the negative consequences that would have arisen as a result of poor reporting, if it were that way.
All right. 2016 to date, 8 years, about 8 years or so. Yes, it's already 8 years. If we were to say we are in October, then we are 8 years into the crisis, or call it conflict, whatever. But you also have to understand that 8 years, like Shing is putting, we have witnessed a shift. There's a paradigm shift in terms of perception to the crisis and active reporting on it. I don't know whether you started reporting it from its onset, whether you were already in this crisis zone, but I want to share with us a little bit of what the media, the mainstream, the traditional media's perspective, how has it changed over time? The way the mainstream media reports on the Anglophone crisis, has it really changed from 2016 to date? Do we still have it running at the same pedestal?
I think that normally it has not changed because crisis reporting before, I don't think it was taught in schools, but now it has influenced a lot of crisis reporting. Journalists at that time were just taught on how to report news, but they did not talk on they were not taught on these specific issues as far as reporting is concerned. I think that the crisis has brought a different shift in reporting, and it has helped a lot of other reporters to look at another angle of news. Like my two colleagues said, I think Shing is right to say that before, I don't think we were more focused talking about crisis. Before, we're talking about other things, and now it has become so difficult to even talk about any other thing in the normal place. For instance, I'll take an example on I was reporting to do a report about the hike in the prices of rice. Okay. So I went to the market to do interviews, and nobody could talk to me because they thought that anything that comes like a camera or a recorder,
going to talk about the crisis.
Exactly. So I had to tell the lady, no, I'm just here for the rice.
It's general here.
Yes, I want to talk about rice. And it becomes so difficult. It has also changed because a lot of non-governmental organizations now are trying to gain grants to organize workshops for media practitioners to learn how to report on crisis. Different organizations too are putting funds so that journalists can have another way too in reporting these issues. The crisis from 2016 till now. 2016, funny enough, I was in Buea, but I wasn't practicing at that time. But at that time, we noticed that it all started like a joke. If somebody could say that we are still here and maybe in a different way of doing things, we now see the presidential plan for reconstruction is coming in. We now see different arenas of workshops are coming in just to talk about the crisis. So I also think that it has changed a great deal because journalists now have different angles of reporting, not just the crisis itself, but what are some of those they call it in production, the production, pre, post, and post-production. Yeah, so some people are still suffering from the impacts of the hard hit of the crisis right now, and other areas are really feeling better. They call them now the green, the red, and the
yellow zone.
Something like that. They put them now in quotes, putting them kind of like put them in colors. So it has not been easy on journalists to cover these issues, given that we are bent on leaning on one side, or sometimes at no side at all. Because on one hand, the activists of the crisis, we notice that they cannot share real information. I don't really think that there is anybody, I have not seen any report yet on somebody who has interviewed a separatist fighter before. And if they had a say and talk, just like in other conflicts in different countries, that these actors of crisis, they come together and they let their voices heard. But it's been different, because you find out that instead of them to talk to journalists, they kidnap journalists, they terrorize them. A colleague of mine in Bamenda was making a call and was very scared because somebody was knocking at his door so hard and telling him, I know you've been reporting. They say don't report, but you are reporting, and we're going to come in and we're going to harm you. I hope that you understand what we're talking about. And that's threats to journalism. So at the end of the day, is the government going to station security officials in each journalist's house to make sure that they are safe so they can report the crisis? I don't think that is feasible. I just think journalists who have been reporting since 2016 till now, I think they have found ways to stay safe. They have also found ways to report safe, and they have also found ways to see how to stick to ethics and still do a good reporting. At the end of the day, journalists keep practicing, the number of journalists who leave schools every year keep increasing. So they too are coming to get their own small share of the reporting. Of the reporting.
But before we come back to talk about the meandering through the safety and security of journalists, Andre, let me rather get to you. The mainstream media, how much has the mainstream media been able to get that appreciation and interaction with the audience, with the Anglophone community? Do they absorb the works that you do, and do they adhere to your opinions, your editorials, your publications? Is there that impact?
Yeah, I think there is an impact, but there's also a very big challenge. You know, even when the crisis started and there was a lot of control at the beginning, I think the government even came up with a list of words that we could not use in reporting. It's like words that were banned or concepts that were banned. You could not mention. Don't mention anything. If somebody says anything and mentions, for instance, federalism, you don't say it. If something happens like this, you don't do it. And when journalists were scared that much, what took over was social media. And it got to a level that even our professionalism was interpreted as a weakness, or as journalists being accomplices of the government. To say that it happened this way, they have downplayed it to this. You understand? You get to a level where something happens and a journalist goes on the ground and reports it, and somebody just sends a voice note on social media, and is that voice note that a lot of people will believe because of the threats on journalists, because they don't see journalists as having that free hand to do their work well. And there's one thing that I would like that people should understand. The work we do, we have some ethics that we follow, not to downplay not to downplay the message we are passing across, but to pass it in a professional way. It's similar like when you get to the hospital and probably your patient or somebody dies. There's a way the doctor announces that to you. In a very professional way, in such a way that you can absorb the shock in a manner that it cannot also cause harm to you.
Yes.
So, but the way social media functions is like that type of situation where somebody dies, and so let's say, for instance, they take your patient to an operating room, and then the doctor comes out and say, let me put it in PG, say, we'll cut him so he die. Imagine how you will feel that. That's the way the social media puts it out. When, for instance, somebody dies, somebody is killed, a professional journalist goes there, gets the information, gets the circumstances, and writes a story. And if they are to use a picture of that, they will probably use a picture where the person was still alive, or if they are using a graphic picture, they will cover those very graphic scenes. But the social media person comes and if the person was shot in the head, a picture of the scattered brain or the scattered body or the main body part is shown, and people believe that, okay, since they show it to us and then the journalists don't show it to us that way too, those are the people who are telling the truth. Meanwhile, our work is not just to tell you the raw thing as it is. We have to treat it and then tell it in such a way that it will not inflame you. The crisis escalated a lot because when instead if something happens, instead of like what happened at sometime in Bakweri town, where 5 young people were killed, a professional journalist goes there and does a story. Probably the picture he uses is a picture of the scene where it happened, with no corpse there. But somebody on social media goes there, takes a video or pictures of these people who have been killed and sends them out accompanied by a very emotional commentary that's attached to it. And the next thing, the next person who gets that video already gives them that concept, like
touch.
Is the next person will be me. This is the way that that very inhumane way. Although it's inhumane to do that, and then that's why you get a lot of young people getting into camps,
radicalized.
Yeah, and they are easily radicalized. That's the right word. I remember there was a story I did for the New Humanitarian when I asked one of the fighters why he joined. He said it was because he thought that he was going to be next. After a lot of people were arrested, some were never seen, some they saw dead bodies and things like that. So that's what the social media sends out. Because of the restrictions that we are also on, it radicalized so many people. So just being afraid, because of the way the information is sent out in an unprofessional manner and a way that is not controlled, already created that gap. It's the same thing with like when they started and there was an issue, a gap was created in leadership, and that's how the people from the diaspora hijacked the whole thing. It was a similar gap that was created in the traditional media, and people came in. I was afraid to report in the when the crisis got to a certain level. I left my friend Amos. We separated after work, and the next day I hear that he's behind bars, and I go and I see him behind bars, frightened with Atia. And now I know that if I do this, or if I say this, or if I write this story in this way, I will be next. And there was that trauma. And it's still there. So the way the thing went about targeting everybody, just using a hammer on everything that was on at that time, I think it frightened people in the traditional media, brought in the social media, and that's why you could have so many websites even inflating stories. Here you hear they have killed these hundreds of people there, and because that credibility was no longer there. And when traditional journalists, those who have been trained to handle information, when the public saw like these people are also targets, so the ones who are working now are just in compliance with the government, and they just do what the government tells them. Yeah, that became a very big problem.
People have become extremely emotional, Shing, from every angle, both parties. Those who think that, the belligerents, they become extremely emotional, that when you balance stories as a media, you're instead in trouble. Now, even the audience have found themselves in a position where they don't want to believe what the media, the mainstream media publishes. They go in for sensationalism that is on social media, and this is a big problem. Someone said somewhere that he does not believe in radio or TV. He wants to read. He has his own preferred sites that he wants to read on social media. The trust between audience and the radio stations, the television channels, the newspapers. What trust level do we have? How credible is it? How much credibility does the mainstream media still have as far as reporting on this is concerned? Do you conceal information in a way that the people don't believe in you anymore?
No.
You report for the Guardian Post. The Guardian Post has been very objective. I know that there has been publishing many stories. Is there an information that sometimes, yes, professionals you conceal, but to what extent?
Well, you don't really. It's not like we conceal. The traditional media doesn't conceal information. The thing is just that the media processes information. That is because you don't just get it. Because what social media does is that it gives it raw. Traditional media
makes it palatable for consumption.
Yes, they make it palatable. They treat the information. Because they treat the information, it goes through processes before it is delivered to the audience. Because, for example, for TV,
so what do you take in consideration when you have a piece of information that, for instance, let's say you have a piece of information that the case Andre just quoted, there, 5 guys have been shot around Sandpit by maybe either of these belligerents. You have that information with you. You know who has shot it. Now, how do you treat this? How have you been treating this as a professional? When you say you treat it, they don't understand. The people, because they just want that go and say that it's the military that has shot this man. Go and say that it's the Amber people that have shot this man. But how do you receive this? What's the processing process?
Well, I think that information is simple. If you know who carried out the act, it's simple. You say that this number of people have been. You write your report, because we should not understand that when journalists are treating information, it's like they are cutting out some. No, because those are facts. If the 5 people are shot there by whoever that is involved, you said that these persons have been shot dead. Because if you can verify, if you are very sure and you have your facts, you know that this is the person who killed this person. It's simple. It's just like the incident we had around the Divine Mercy Cathedral, where this little girl was killed. It was clear who shot it, and you could see it reflected in all the reports that were carried either by the newspapers, TV, and radio stations. So, in that case, treating information doesn't mean you conceal information or you try to hide information. No, there are some facts that you could see that, no, if you bring out these facts, that the facts don't add any meaning to the story. Because if, for example, a media organ went to say that the person who killed this child is from this tribe, is from this region, is from this place, you see, that is something that can inflame people. So in that case, that is how the journalist is supposed to treat information.
You see from that perspective?
Yes, you see, take it from that perspective. Take it in such a way that it's going to do no harm. Because even in practice, we are not taught these things, but instinctively as a journalist, you know that you are not supposed to do any harm, that you are supposed to report the information in a way that, alright, you are putting the facts out there, but you are making the facts palatable. Making sure that you are not inflaming the public, you are not going to send people to the streets to go and protest, because the government has put up a lot of hurdles as far as this crisis is concerned. And you see most of the challenges with the public, why they prefer social media. The public, most people are afraid, because it's like if they talk to the media, if they talk to journalists and they are quoted, either the separatists can come after them or the government can come after them. But I will tell the public that journalists are very professional. Journalists can get information and they protect the identity of the person who was interviewed. Even if the member of the public is not ignorant, is ignorant. That is, the person says that no, the journalist tells you that no, I will hide your identity, and the person says no, I'm confident, you can quote me anywhere. You as the journalist, you look at the security and the risk environment associated with what that person is saying. The journalist, you try to hide the person's name. In that case, so journalists take a lot of pains to protect.
That's actually covered. The journalist is covered by the media laws.
Yes,
to consider until it gets worse at the level of the court.
Yeah, and the journalist is only obliged to reveal that information in the court. So journalists put a lot of measures to protect their sources. So the issue is just that the public should trust the journalist to give information to them, because if you follow the media, you should be able to identify the media you can trust and know that all journalists, if you give information to this journalist today and the journalist treats it poorly, you as a source, you should know those who are professionals and those who stick by their values, such that if this person comes to you and say that yes, I want you to give me this information, you can give it trust in that person. The challenge, Bako, is that when the incidents happen, like there is a shooting or there is an incident around, You go there and you meet people, everybody, people who were there from the beginning, they say, no, I don't know what happened.
They're scared of their own.
Yeah, so you see that even when you promise to protect that, you protect their identity. In that case, it makes it very difficult. Because you, the journalist, you go there, even the people, they lie to you. They lie to you, and in your report, you are indicating that you got this information from here. One of them has taken a video that very soon, when you publish your report, the person will share it on the social media, and it will go viral. It will seem like, no, the journalist has a particular interest to hide, which is not the case. Because journalists, they try verifying their information. They get information from several sources. Because you go to the scene of an incident, you interview one, he says this, the second person says the same thing. It's like almost there is a kind of groupthink within the population, such that all of them, they will give you the same information. Though they have evidence in their phone, they have recorded either audio or video and kept it. They refuse to give you, and when you publish the information, they come after you.
You are a fact checker. You trained with the African Fact Checking Fellowship to be able to detect some of these things. But
and we can even see the challenge just with because we have had a lot of information circulating today, because we have seen the communique from the presidency debunking one misinformation, one fake news that has been making waves on the social media.
With the time of Africa food.
So Mbako, that is just to situate to you the situation of what social media can do, because social media, the country today, because the social media sphere in Cameroon has been boiling today.
Do you as mainstream media, social media cannot just be battled totally? Maybe somehow, Emmanuel, maybe somehow the social media has been a blessing to the works of the traditional media. Those who go online to churn out the misleading information, how has that been used by the mainstream media?
You know, with the rise of social media, it has caused many mainstream medias to have platforms on social media as well, because of what is happening right now. We have noticed that within the context of the crisis, everyone has been considered as a journalist. So it makes it very, very difficult to really look at the two, like black and white, or sometimes white and peach or gray, to look at which one is right and which one is wrong. So what the social media has been doing, other mainstream medias are getting in touch to get to social media platforms. You see media organs now on Facebook, you see them on Twitter, you see them on Instagram, you see them sometimes even on TikTok, trying to put out the informations out there. Why? Because they have learned the hard way, where an information or an incident happened, and the first thing you find it is on social media already. So what the media organs have now tried to practice is that they are trying to practice what they like. For instance, we have media organs now who do live programs. If you find something really funny or tricky and they want to hear, there are still people who trust journalists, who trust traditional media organs to get the right information. I will just quote a very quick example of what happened earlier today at Tubok Junction here in Buea. A car caught up in flames, just I think about 5 p.m. or so, and around that time, many people had to take pictures and videos of that incident. And if you go to my 17 and you're in a taxi, I would think that what you will hear is that you see boys have burnt a car.
Separate Amber boys have burnt a car up there.
Yes, and then you want to ask more of the show. I have pictures and videos. You know,
that Buea is hot.
Yes, that Buea is very hot. I have people who don't want to come to Buea because they think that people don't move, that people are indoors. They make the atmosphere so tense, and most of this tense atmosphere we see it on social media. I don't think you've ever heard a media organ. I've never heard that before. A media organ had to read a communique saying that tomorrow there's no work. Let's all stay at home and eat from home because tomorrow the town is going to be ghosted. Let's stay at home and eat. I don't think that you've seen the traditional media do that. But now social media has become, megabytes have become so cheap now. So with 100 francs you can get 100 megabytes and you do a lot of crazy things with that 100 megabytes. So I think the only advice I would give to media organs, journalists out there is that get yourself a social media handle where every information you can do. You can
offline, you're also online.
Yes, offline, you're also online. Where you gather information, as I think that Shing said that earlier, where journalists are not, they don't give awards to people who break the news first.
Yeah.
But they give awards to people who give the right information. So I think that
guided by facts.
Yes, guided by facts, and that is why, if you notice, I think that when something comes up in town, people are so very impatient. They want to just go on Facebook and check what's happening. But those who know the environment we're living at, they will want to wait for news time, for prime time on different media organs, maybe TV, maybe radio, or maybe newspapers in the morning to see what the papers have been talking about. Oh, it's so sickening that we have a generation that doesn't read much. So most people don't even go to buy newspapers these days to see what is happening. Before, I think that we had newspapers in our homes. I grew up with a father who reads, and his cupboard had newspapers from start to finish. His story was in one of those newspapers. So you see them reading, and they try to do, they like journalists at that time. They fact check, they bring like, this thing happened last week, let me check what happened in this newspaper the other week. So it is I think it's high time for journalists to think of other ways to fight this cankerworm called social media, because social media is bringing up something
it's a wide forest.
It's something that when the fire comes, it's going to burn everything, and the only thing standing, I think, will be firewood to be used somewhere in the kitchens.
All right. In 2016, we had a couple of journalists who went to jail. In fact, I think the reports from the Committee to Protect Journalists for the past 3 years, international structure, Committee to Protect Journalists for 2021, 22, and 23, they have been stable on Cameroon as one of the worst jailers of journalists in the sub-Saharan Africa. After Eritrea, I think Eritrea and which other country is this? Or Sudan or so. So Cameroon is among the first 3 countries that jail journalists. And within the context of the ongoing crisis, we've had some journalists who've been penalized. Tell us a bit more about the safety of journalists within the context of this crisis. When you go out to report, to gather this information, how safe is it? How accessible are the areas? How accessible are the amber camps? How accessible are the hospital authorities towards you? How accessible are government structures and military zones towards you, so that you get the right information?
Yeah, I think Mbaku, I am afraid to say none of those places have been accessible. It just depends on the mode and what the person who is there wants to do at the time. I've been reporting on even during times that there's nothing threatening as much, and I've still been abused. There was a time I went to cover an event at the Southwest Governor's office, and somebody took my phones and took my own and kept in one room and formatted my phones. I was not there to do any harm. It was information I was there to gather. And there were colleagues from other places who say, you private media, you will not do it the way you will like, so let us erase everything you have. And they took my 2 phones and erased. I remember when the bishops were taken to court by some foreign fellows when the crisis started, and I was there for coverage. And somebody, a unit commander, because he did not like to see journalists there, asked officers to come and take me and collect my gadgets, collect my working equipment. There was nothing threatening there. And the problem that I don't know whether it's that those who do it that way want to see the backlash, is that when you treat journalists that way, and we are afraid to do our job and we cannot actually report, and you make even things that are very minor seem so big. In other places, for instance, look at what is happening today, that the presidency and ministers have to be debunking that the president is not dead. In other places, when the president's itinerary is a public thing, and journalists are free to report that. But in our own case, if you report that, you'll be in trouble. That's why somebody sits now and idle in his room and take probably 2 minutes and send a video that can bring down a country. And people actually believe that because they know that journalists in Cameroon cannot comment on anything concerning the president, his health, or his whereabouts.
Even the same media structure which belongs to the state
even
that he travels with, they hide the information from.
When you do it that way, you give room for the most extreme. Okay, now you cannot control whoever is outside. The person who sends the video, like the one that's been making rounds today announcing the death of the president, is outside. You cannot control him, and you can probably he has made use of that gap that you have created by suppressing the media in the country, by making everybody afraid, by making everyone afraid to ask a question, and you create that gap. So now they know that the Post cannot tell us the president's whereabouts. CRTV cannot tell us the president's whereabouts. The Guardian Post cannot tell us that the state of the cannot comment on the health of the president. And you just need an idle fellow who will even send people to a wrong location, and they go and they are protesting. They're asking for somebody who is not there, because those who are supposed to handle information in a professional way, you have suppressed them. You have made them to look illegitimate, and you have created a monster. Don't be surprised if one day we get a revolt and it crumbles the whole state from fake news, because people tend to believe the extreme one, because they believe that everything is hidden from them. Everything is hidden from them, even when as journalists our work is to give the information out in a professional manner. In other places, they tell you that the president is not feeling fine. The president is in this hospital. It is fine. We don't have a god in Yaoundé. We have a human being.
And they show images.
Yes.
From the
the president or whoever comes and tells you that this is the problem. This is what I have. This is what I have. I'm a young man. At my age, probably sometimes I get sick like twice in a year. And I go to the hospital. What more of the president who at his age too has health challenges? Anybody can have it. I'm not saying that he has. Anybody can have it. And it's but normal that if we have the media should talk about things like that.
Would that translate? I'm not cutting you. Would that translate to the reality that we have a very terrible communication culture in Cameroon? Because it might not necessarily even be the malicious intentions to hide these things. It could also just be that the communication mechanism has a trouble, and as communication experts, we're struggling to put out the message clearly that the communication channels need some liberation so that they can be able to help the state and help whichever party have an issue to communicate their issues.
We need the communication sector, the media, and even freedom of expression, real freedom of expression needs to be boosted in Cameroon. There's one thing that people forget. Just take it for instance, like you're a child at home. You see that children who are given that liberty to express their mind, like if a child has a problem with a father, you come to and say, "Daddy, this is this," and the child airs his or her mind. Even if you do nothing, or even if you disagree, it's a different thing. The child will understand. You can convince the child that this thing you want is not what you need, and the child will understand. You can tell the child that we are not going to give you this because of that. But when you have that freedom to air your mind, to talk, because it's when you have freedom of expression that citizens can talk about freely about things that matter. It's when journalists or the media can discuss issues well. It puts down the pressure. Generally, it puts down the pressure. Just somebody expressing his or her mind, we already know that at least I have been heard. I have been heard. Just the fact that you have listened to them and the fact that they can say that out, it helps lessen the tension. But when you have a situation where nobody feels like, when nobody feels like can talk freely, and then I'm not targeted or nothing bad happens to me. When you have that, when you have like our own case where a lot of things are taboo, you then conflict begin to crop up. You have now some people who feel like, I must kill, I must do this, I must block the route, I must do that before I am hurt. That is where the problem is. Communication is a very important thing. If you see countries where people are free to talk, they hardly ever get to anything fighting.
It is less budgeted in this country because they're just scared that
they don't even need to budget it, Baku, for it. That's another thing for it. Just make it free.
Right.
Just make it free. It's a free market. A free market systems work best even. They don't even need to give subventions to the media.
Yes, at all.
You have a situation. You have companies in Cameroon that you never see them on the media. Do you know why? Because because they feel like they don't even need to. Nobody talks in Cameroon. In neighboring Nigeria here, you see even advertisements are like, you come to the marketplace and you defend yourself. If you have an opinion, you share it. If you have something to sell, you bring it there. And that's how you see you see that everything, you have some ripple effect. Things will fall in place. The media does not even need subventions from the state if it is free and they can communicate and people know that they can rely on the media. The subventions are given to the media because they know, because it's designed in such a way that the media must struggle and then probably beg for crumbs, and then to do that they give subventions like some sort of medication to keep you alive long enough to be dependent.
But how much is that subvention? Even 2 million?
That's what I'm saying, that they give it to you. It's not the subventions cannot even do anything. It's just to keep you alive, to make you relevant. To say that there's media.
Subvention cannot print one edition.
If we have a free system, nobody needs to give a franc to a journalist or to a media house to survive. The media, people will express their opinion. People will believe in the media, and people will watch the media. You have instead of for instance, like the mobile telephone companies who now violate the laws by even sending their own adverts to us directly.
Yes.
And that's it's not supposed to be that way. They will come to the media and pass their messages across through the media, and the media will make money. We have multinationals in Cameroon that don't feel the need to advertise. You see, for instance, we had a company like Dangote. When Dangote came here, you see, when the cement factory was open, you saw, because they came from a place where it's an open market, where you have to go to a media to sell your things. They were advertising, but then they sat back and said, but nobody's doing this.
That's not the corrupt system.
So why do that? And that's what happens with every other person. Company. You have the telecommunication companies. They were advertising, but they see that nobody follows the laws. Let us just send the message to the people. Let us just violate their privacy. Let's just do anything directly to the people. You have multinationals that are supposed to be doing that. They don't do it. Even at the level of some strong companies in Cameroon, instead of you advertising to win the market space, you go and make things difficult for your competitor.
So what do you blame there? Is it that the media laws are so weak in the country? Such rumor told us at one point that is administrative tolerance on the media, which leaves you operate with a free hand.
No, we don't need to be tolerated to operate to do things freely in Baku. If you say that if I step aside from here, you will hit me. The fact that I step and you don't hit me does not mean that I'm free. It simply means that when it suits your purpose, it suits your needs, you are going to hit me. And that's why people begin now to operate with a lot of reservations and fear and things like that. If things are freed, there are a lot of things that will simply fall in place. Yeah.
All right. Shintimoti, talking about regulation, we know that, in fact, in the early days of the crisis, some media houses were shut down, some were closed. Maybe by means of the crisis or by administrative, but not that administrative orders. When Peter Isoka was president of NCC, the National Communication Council, he gave the permit, shut down some radio stations for some time. Hot Cocoa was shut down. I remember Vision Card has been touched by NCC, and even the Post newspaper has been touched with a story published concerning the Anglophone crisis. There are many other media houses and structures, journalists, who have been touched because they reported on the crisis. The NCC is there now. Joe Chobonking is there. This is a structure that has been put in place to regulate the operation of the media. How satisfied are you with their work so far, as far as gauging the operation of the media in Cameroon?
Well, I think the National Communication Council in Cameroon is just like most other state institutions that are created, like like CONAC, like the Supreme State Audit. Most of these bodies that are created, that is, they are given lofty functions but without teeth. So the National Communication Council in Cameroon is created to regulate the journalism profession. But I don't know why it's different from the Bar Association, because it is created, it's like out there just to sanction journalists and media organs, but not also following up to see that the government also respects its own share.
Engagement.
Yes, in ensuring that access to information in Cameroon is guaranteed.
Information Act.
Yes, because one of the biggest challenges facing media in Cameroon that is responsible for most of the reason why at times media organs are sanctioned is because of lack of sources. Because because Bako, I'm sure you have carried out an investigation, or you have wanted information from somebody and you finally end up giving up on that story because there are people who don't want to give you information. You can call, you go to the office, they say no, I'll get back to you. Fill this document, do this. You sit, you call the person, you try following up, and at the end of the day you give up. So that is a challenge we face in Cameroon, and the National Communication Council in Cameroon generally, it sanctions media, but most of the media is the media that is either it is critical about the government, that it doesn't favor the government, the narrative doesn't favor the government. Because if you think of Vision Card is one media organ that they call people that is so inflammatory.
Yeah.
There have been like radio and television callings
in Rwanda.
Yes, and we didn't see anything. But the media organs, when they report on certain issues, because like what could lead to the recent suspension of the Post newspaper and other, and Equinox, this their program Droit de Répondre. Those are suspensions that you see at times and you think, what is the job of the NCC? Do they really understand their job? Because you think of the justifications for the suspension. You see that this is because NCC is almost like an extension of CRTV or the state media, because most of the people who are appointed to head that institution are from CRTV. Yes, a former staff of the CRTV. Most of those people, they don't understand the realities of media in Cameroon, because they sit there and they can go anywhere and have information. Because Andrew was explaining the situation where you face challenges and some government officials, especially people in the defense and security forces, they always see people from the private media as people who will not report the way they should report. Because I remember one time, that is in the DDR center, we were actually invited to come and cover an event there. Going there, we met the military guys who said no, because they asked. I was going with some colleagues from the state media. They said, which media are you from? I said, the Guardian Post. They said, no, vous faites les choses comme ça, vous ne faites pas bien. Yes, so that is a challenge you face, because you actually go to get information. That is information, because no matter which media, every media organ has its audiences. That is something those people, they don't even understand. And at times there are people who are not just very much learned, but surely they have instructions from others, or they just have their own misinformation and they base all their judgment on the information they have. Because surely people in the quarters are saying that no, CRTV is bad, and somebody says no, I will never watch CRTV, or this one is good, I will always watch by this one. But the right thing is that even with the public, the right thing for any member of the public is that you should have a diverse media culture in yourself, so that if you get up to the
consumption culture,
you consume, that is, you consume diverse media. Don't only limit yourself to one, because when you, for example, if you get up in the morning and you follow CRTV, you follow Equinox, you follow Canal Day, you follow DMR TV, you follow Dash Radio, you follow Dash TV, you follow all these local media organs here, and then you go for newspapers, you read the newspapers that are published on that day. If you can have access to information as much as this, I'm sure at the end of the day,
you will be able to make an informed choice of
you will be able to make an informed decision, and even your discussions among your friends. Because whether you are a taxi driver, you are a teacher, you are anybody, the way you converse amongst your peers, or even when you go and sit in a bar and you are discussing on current issues, at least you discuss with that kind of authority. Because like the misinformation today, there are some people who have stated, as a matter of fact today, they are calling others from different parts of the country. They are telling them that yes, this one has happened because of the information that was circulating, and they carry it and share, not knowing that it's criminal to share such false information. So people should be very careful when they follow social media, because social media, there is a lot of manipulation, and everybody coming on social media has their interest. There are people from the government, especially in the time of crisis like this, there are people who are supporting the government, who come, they have their agenda, they pass across false information. There are people on the other side who pass across false information. So the public, they have to be very cautious. That is why I think that the public not trusting journalists or the traditional media is at their fault. Because when traditional media organs, they make mistakes, because newspapers, TV stations, radio stations, when they make mistakes, they always acknowledge them and they correct them. Because that is why you see on newspapers they have corrigendum. Even when they make a mistake with somebody's name inside the paper, you see it on the front page featured.
I wish hardly really happens even.
No, it happens. It happens a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yes, because if you think that the media, a newspaper, for example, has reported wrongly about you, you have been misquoted, you indicate to the media organ with the facts that I made this speech on this day at this place. This is my speech. This is what I said. But what you reported was not the same thing. You wrote my name wrongly. You said Mbaku Jude, for example, is the Director General of the Divine Mercy Radio and Television, and that is not the right thing. You tell the media, it will be corrected, because if it is not corrected, you can take
responsibility.
Yes, they take responsibility, because that is something my media organ has done. It is stated there, because it is stated there that on this day we did this report. We may, yes.
Well, I'm saying that it takes a while for such to happen, because even before publishing one story, the media organs actually really take their time to investigate.
Yes, that is just to tell the public that the media organ, they make mistakes. Traditional media organs, they make mistakes, like every human endeavor. But when we make mistakes, we acknowledge them. On social media, it's very hard to make mistakes, because if a story is carried on Divine Mercy Radio and Television and there is an error, the next day will be broadcast and surely repeated to correct that mistake. And I'm sure it's the same thing that the Post newspaper, if they make any mistake, you see it. Every other media organ. And I think it's the same thing that obtains for radio, TV stations as a whole. So traditional media is professional, but they make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, they acknowledge them and they are corrected. Great. In contrast to social media, where they don't have that opportunity.
Great. We are soon wrapping up. Emanuela, what call can you make to the various stakeholders as far as the issue of crisis reporting and the media is concerned? What call can you make out? Maybe to stakeholders, be it the audience, the population, the government representative, even the AMBA people, whoever. In terms of crisis, there are many stakeholders. What are they supposed to know as the last call on the program tonight?
I just think I'll start with the government, because it's under the umbrella that we're here in Cameroon, and we will just let them know that in crisis situations like this, communication is key. Just like Andrew noted, that you go to a place and it's very difficult for you to get an information, and when they think that the information we're getting is they call it to nail them, I don't think that it is the work of a professional journalist who has gone to school and is training for that, who has been trained and is doing that job. So I just think they should be very open to information. Give us the information we need and stick to us to see how that information is being treated. For the population and the community out there, I will talk about the two regions we find ourselves in, the crisis, the Northwest and the Southwest regions. Colleagues in this part of the country, they don't find it easy. That is why sometimes when people from other regions, they see colleagues in the Northwest and Southwest, they ask if they are still living. Of course, we're still here, and we're trying as much as we can to report what we see. I don't think that the journalist on ground will report what he has not seen. And if they do so, just like Shing has said, I think they are going to do a correction. But on social media, they're just going to give a correction in the comment section. If you don't see it in 1001 comments, then that means that one will just be like that. So the population trusts the media and trust them to give you the right information at every given time. Don't be in a hurry to get an information. Just wait and let them do their job. Thank you.
It's not about breaking news anymore.
Exactly.
It's about the facts.
It's about the facts.
Andrew, you are the president of the Cameroon Association of English-speaking Journalists for the Southwest, for Boya chapter. Just recently, there was a restitution amongst the national members and those of you from the chapter levels in Yaoundé to reshape the way you members of this association or Anglophone journalists as a whole are able to report on the crisis. Were there any specifics, and what was the call you people had to make to all those reporting?
Yeah, I think it's basically about reporting in a more professional way, reporting the crisis, and not just like most of the time we have been doing, where the crisis is these people have been killed here, these people have been killed here, these people have been killed here. It's in such a way that we cover the whole thing, cover victims, because we want a situation where people can freely talk to the media. If you have been impacted by the crisis and the media approaches you, you should feel free to talk to them so that they can tell your story. And probably if you have some lessons, you have some regrets, you have some information that you share, it will not only end at you. It can help your neighbor. It can help somebody in some other village. You have by telling, because you know that crisis resolution always comes when people start seeing the impact of what is happening. There are some people who have family head, there are people who are sustaining their extended families, and now they live in some half houses because the crisis has taken everything away from them.
So there should be that human face.
So we need to have that human face of the crisis to show people the impact, so that whoever is calling the shot, whether you are a leader in the diaspora calling the shots here, whether you are a stakeholder in Yaoundé, journalists should be able to tell the story so that you see the impact of your action, so that can inspire action from everywhere.
Andrew Soseka, president of Kamasesh, Boya chapter, and the Post newspaper plus website. Your website is Atlantic Chronicles.
Yes.
And you've trained for many international organs as well. Thank you for your time this evening. It's been formidable.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me.
Shing Timothy is of the. He's the Secretary General of the Kamasesh, and you're equally the Southwest focal point correspondent from Boya for the Guardian Post newspaper daily. Shing, thank you for coming.
Yes, it was an honor for me to be here today and to share this platform, and I would just like the audience to know that we journalists, we are professional. They should trust us, they should give us information, because when they give us information, we can paint a true picture of their story, and in that light we will start resolving the crisis, because what can resolve the crisis is the truth. When people face the truth, whether you are inciting the conflict from whatever end, when you see the truth, I think there is nobody who can escape the truth. When people know the truth, that whatever I say, what I do, maybe as a joke, there are some people who think they are joking. You should know that it has real life consequences on people on the ground, on people's livelihood.
Right. And Emanuela C of My Media Prime, you reported at My Media Prime here in Boya. Emanuela, thank you for your time too.
Thank you so much, Mbaku, and thank you for all those who listened or who followed us today on this program. Thank you so much, and I'm hoping that you got the right information from practicing journalists, and I'm hoping that the narratives will be different. Thank you.
Should. It's a continuous discussion. I always say, because we have to come back. One of the social responsibilities we have is to teach, is to educate the masses, and this is just what we are doing, especially when it comes to handling information concerning the crisis. And like we're talking about today, we've seen on social media platforms people sharing information unverified. So Shing, we'll come back again to talk about fact checking, how we can help people who love to share information, share credible information.
Yes.
It is very important. So I want to thank you very much and hope that you continue trusting us on DMR TV, Radio DMR TV, TV, the newspapers. I trust what we do, because all we do is for your own good. I've been Jude Mbaku for this edition of Mountain Echoes. Have a blessed night.